it's a funny story because I always wanted to work on Star Wars, and they actually called me, which was great because uh, one of the guys in the math department, and that's the
Mhm.
background, and
Yes.
called Art Center, and that's where George Lucas originally wanted to go. He wanted to go to Art Center, but when he got an award for a short movie that he made, he got a scholarship to USC. I also
Okay.
went to USC, so he called Art Center because at that time it was considered, the best art school in Southern California. And so when they talked to the dean recommended two people, and I was one of the people he recommended, and I got the job. And so at that time, I didn't have I was talented, but I had no work ethic. And so I would make a lot of money and just go to the beach, fool around with girls, go broke, and then try to get work again. I mean, just no, no. Well, I had a work ethic, but it's just kind of like, yeah, Southern California, it's taking it easy. So they called me around the time I was kind of going broke. I'd done a calendar for Coors Beer, and God, that sustained me for a year because they paid me really well, and the illustration pays really well. And so what I learned working for George Lucas was painting every day, full 8 hours. You get to be really good at once you're painting every day, and you're painting these landscapes. And I also learned how to accept criticism and to respect the criticism from two other artists who were definitely better than I was. And I was more art centery, concept, and yeah, I could do realism, but I could do all these other things. These guys were all kind of doing photoreal backgrounds, so
Mhm.
I had to work really hard to get up to speed. And so it was a difficult learning, but my temperament is like, I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, you want to you okay? There's this little wording that I use for people. You want to eliminate the fun. You want to eliminate fear. You cannot be fearful. You know, fear. You just being totally intimidated and fearful. I'll tell you, it's the most incapacitating thing for an artist.
Mhm.
You is unbelief. You got to really believe that you can do it. If you can't believe that you can do it, you're not going to do it. You know, and then B is bitterness. The worst thing for artists is to be bitter. Bitter because these guys are piling up on me. Bitter that I'm not making enough money. Bitter they don't recognize me. Those are the killers. Those are the energy killers. Those are the life killers. Fear, unbelief, bitterness. They're destructive. So these guys would really work me over because I definitely wasn't at the level they were, but they saw that I had talent. And back then, if there was the internet, I probably definitely wouldn't have got hired because I was all over the place. If you saw my portfolio, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And what I learned is when people get to that level, everybody there is at the top of their game. It's really unbelievable to see so many
Mhm.
people who are so good at what
Yeah.
they do. I mean, you just take it for granted. They're really good at what they do, you know? And so you just really have to up your game. It's very intimidating if you don't have confidence in your abilities. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, especially, I met all the actors. I met Michael Jackson. The funniest thing Michael Jackson said to us, he goes, if I can paint like you guys, I'd give up singing. And I forgot. I said something like, I don't think you'd like the income drop, you know? And so we meet all these actors, and after a while, it just kind of got boring seeing all the actors and that sort of thing. And then going out on location and working with the director and cameraman, it was a wonderful experience because I've always loved film.
Mhm.
I weaned on film. Even took a film class at USC. So one of my dreams was working for Star Wars, especially when a friend of mine took me kicking and screaming to see the original Star Wars. Like, I don't want to see that. He goes, Ray, you got to see this one. Nah, I don't think so. Saw it and was like, whoa, look at this thing. So I really want, and still, there's a big fan base out there of people. That's all they know me from is working on Jedi, working on the shots and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, but it did teach me how to be confident, teach me how to accept criticism because usually after we all would film our shots and we'd have our own what's called dailies. And we'd sit down literally almost for an hour, just pick paintings apart or pick our shot apart. Why'd you do that? Maybe you should move that there. And it's just sometimes for 2 hours. I'm not so sure. And we're talking really picking at things because we wanted it to be excellent. And eventually that becomes your culture, is you do not substitute what's expedient for excellence.
Yeah.
And so they had their own little vocabulary there. CBB, could be better, you know. And that's another word of saying keep working on it, you know, CBB. And so it was a wonderful experience, but I never saw myself, you know, as an employee for life. I always wanted to be the boss man. I wanted to be the George Lucas, and that's kind of the way I was trained. I was, you know, one of my mentors, Sam Hyde Harris, uh, good friends with Norman Rockwell. I mean, he mentored me. I used to take care of his studio. His neighbor was Frank Tenney Johnson. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No, I don't think so.
Western painter, very big in the Western market. He's like a god. He's like one of the Bouguereaus, you know, to that Western market. Did all these nocturnes. If you see these nocturnes from
Maybe I have,
Western
yeah.
painters, they're kind of imitating Frank Tenney Johnson. You know,
Right.
he did nocturnes. He's famous for that. And so I always was around these people who were just very confident, and so. And of course, sometimes confidence goes into arrogance, and I was guilty of that when I was there. You just think you're just uh, top of the world, which we were, because at that time there was no competition for Industrial Light and Magic. That was the name of the company. So, but it was a wonderful experience. It didn't even. It felt like we were just playing,
Yeah.
just coming up with ideas and just having free reign to. And back then, it's different than today. Today's all digital. Back then, I was in charge of the shot. I was like the director of the shot, working with my camera. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to stage it. It's not like that anymore. It's all everybody's a. Some guys do a little digital cloud. Another person do a little digital tree. Another person do a digital building. Another person do digital people. There's, you know, everybody's got a little specialty. Whereas back then, we did the entire painting. So you just learned how to do the whole thing. So there's a little bit of that cinematic. I still have a love of doing landscapes, you know, and frankly, landscapes are the easiest to sell because it's like, oh, that eye doesn't look good or that mouth doesn't look good. You know, if you don't have the tree, you know, you've got like a landscape behind you. I mean, who knows if the branch was that tall or lower, or if it was skinnier or thicker? Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's there's a lot of leeway, and so and people always love they love where they've been. You know, if they've been to Yosemite, if they've been to San Miguel, you know, the beautiful landscape there, or they've been to the Pacific Ocean or Cabo. They want a painting of that to remember. I have no problem with that because I've gone way past. You know, there's within the artistic community. You know, I see. I'm just thankful to be able to make art. You know, I could be doing something else. So when I have so when I have a lady come in here and she tells me, you know, my dog died, and I really loved my dog, and I look at your paintings. Can you do a painting of my dog? And I go, absolutely. I'll do a painting of your dog. And some gal came in the other day. He said, I don't know if you do this, but I love my husband, and his grandparents were born on the res, and I know he likes this photograph, but it's all scratched up. Can you paint that? Because I know you're really good with portraits, and I like how you paint the. Can you? I go, absolutely. So I do a lot of that because it's like I'm part of the community, you know, and I wouldn't. It would really hurt me to go, no, that's not art. I don't copy somebody else's photo. You know, I'm human to human. You know, they love somebody, and they want something that says, I value you, and I hired this artist because I value you, and I want this for you because I love you. And so being part of that chain, I think that's amazing, you know. And so I'm kind of done with the highfalutin part of art, and you just got to do that, which is uh, for grandeur. It's that kind of Ruskin school of thought, paint for greatness and that sort of thing. And there's part of me like, yeah, I want to do something really, really great. But sometimes it's just the little things that are really important. I just did a painting of my daughter with my granddaughter. I'm sorry, my daughter-in-law with my granddaughter, and this was a very intimate little thing with her with the baby, and gave it to them, and they love it. And then when little Emily grows up, it's going, that was me with my mommy. See, you're part of their story. You're part of their narrative. You've entered into that, And I have a painting, back there. It's called My Brother's Keeper. I have one son where everything went great for him. The kid's a great runner. The girls loved him. Just like a golden child. Then I have another boy where he almost died when he was born. He survived spinal meningitis, and he's had just a lot of challenges with back surgeries, cerebral palsy, just a lot of challenges. And we've had grand mal seizure right in front of me. Wait till you see your kid with their eyes, roll back and only see white. I mean, that'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
So I did a painting called, Brother's Keeper, because when I die, I want this son right there to know he's got to help this son right there, and so that painting is for them. It's like it's a testament. It's a challenge. It's a vision for them to know, you guys grew up together, and even though you've got your own family, I want you to also think of your brother, because when we're gone, we're not going to be able to take care of him.
Mhm.
I mean, it gets real. Life gets really real. Well, John Lennon said, life is what happens to you while you're making other plans.
Yep. That's
I mean,
very, very true.
I've got all these things right now. I'm doing a big commission for a college down, and painting a portrait of a donor for a college. My building's up for sale, and I've been here 13 years, and so I'm gonna have to deal with that if somebody buys this building,
Right.
and if not, I'm gonna have to be willing, if they raise my rent, I'm gonna have to. I mean, I'll do that for several months until I finish my projects, but this is life. These are these changes. How are you going to deal with the change? See, that exposes your temperament. It exposes, as an artist, well, why has this happened to me? Well, it's happened to a lot of people, so again, that's part of the bitterness thing. You don't want to get bitter about it.
Yes.
It's like, why me? That sort of thing. So the
Yeah.
art, again, is to help enrich somebody's life, because life is difficult, and life, I believe, is worth living.
It is.
I think of life. I know some people think of death, but I think of life. I want more life, especially now as I'm getting older. You know, there's definitely mortality, but I think of more life. I want to eat the right foods. I just got
Yeah.
for the first time a hearing aid. This is what happens. You start losing your hearing. And so now, but I'm thankful that I live in this age, because now, my hearing aid, I can control it now with my phone.
Yes.
And because I have tinnitus, like right now while I'm talking to you, my ear's ringing, it's like that.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
constant. And so I have to deal with that. And so it has these anti-masking, so it's not as bad. So these are great innovations through through technology, that I'm thankful I live in this time. I'm very thankful. Living a life where you're of gratitude and thankfulness is a really good thing, because there's a lot of I don't know how people present themselves all on Facebook or Netflix, but there is a lot of suffering in the world.
Yeah.
And so I look at my artists, how can I help uplift the human, be an uplifting part of that?
Mhm.
That's a very
Yeah.
clumsy way. I know it's very clumsy and doesn't sound too philosophical, but I want to be part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. Like, yeah, go ahead and jump. That was that Van Halen song. He actually
Yes.
it was like, it was like, yeah, go ahead, jump. I'm not that. And then of course you do that. Let's rock and roll. But maybe you should I mean, I had a friend who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and killed himself. you know? And so, I would never tell him, yeah, go ahead and jump. You know, you don't, when somebody's that fragile, you don't do that. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of heartache. I just had a friend, they just lost their child to fentanyl, their 24-year-old child.
Wow.
And it's heartbreaking to be around people who've lost a child like that. It's devastating.
Yep.
You know, I did a painting one time of, it had Jesus holding this young man, you know, he's kind of in this. And it was actually an illustration for an article about teenage suicide and loss. And sometimes when somebody's in that condition, the most you can do is just either hold them or touch them. You can't be talking to them and talking about what you're going through. They're not hearing what you're going through. But they want just that energy of you holding them. And there was a guy who bought that painting, and it was a small little painting. This was, I don't know, 15 years ago. It was a little 5x7 painting, and I didn't want to sell it. So I put like $2,800 on it. And the guy bought the painting. Actually, the wife bought the painting for the husband because he was in a ministry to abuse children or who were marginal. And he came home and he was like crying. And she goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "I saw this painting," and I started weeping. So she went to the gallery and she bought the painting for him for Christmas. So you're part, you know, and I didn't know that, you know. I one time did a painting of a rock, and it was sold in a show, and the son contacted me, and he said, "My dad saw this painting of this rock that you did," and he just started crying. And the reason why is he just told us that he now has terminal cancer and he's going to die. But this was the rock that we played on. I mean, I didn't know this. But this was the rock that we played on when we were kids. And the father bought it to give to the son to remember the good times.